He was fast, fiery, a genuine Aussie Rules hero. Even if you're not a fan, you'll marvel at his sheer magic. But Jim Krakouer was a flawed hero. Where he went, trouble followed. And in 1996, the final act of self-destruction. He was jailed for his part in a huge amphetamine racket. Tonight, Jim Krakouer's a free man, telling his story for the first time, telling it to guest reporter Eddie McGuire.
I was lucky enough to see Jim Krakouer at his best, to enjoy the brilliance of a player that many still regard as one of football's most exciting. But there was a dark side to Jim Krakouer, a dark side that drove him to the brink. Tonight, a revealing portrait of the magic and the mayhem of Jim Krakouer. And a warning to our Aboriginal viewers, this story contains images of people who have passed on. Welcome back, pal.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks.
After 8 years behind bars for drug trafficking, Jim Krakouer is a free man. And just looking out now in the fields, cows out in the distance there, and nice blue sky and the sun's shining. What's it like?
Oh, it's a good feeling, bro.
Well, there you go, mate. A rainbow might be a good luck charm.
Freedom's a pot of gold, bro.
There he goes, Jimmy Krakouer again. Watch him ever go with those goals. That's a good one.
Once it was all so different. Back in the 80s, Jim Krakouer was one of Australian football's biggest stars.
Look, it's Jimmy. What a kick by
He had
Jimmy.
it all: fame, fans, and money.
Jimmy Krakouer steadies, fires at goal with a torpedo painted beautiful.
But then it all went wrong. In 1996, Krakouer was jailed for 16 years after Western Australia's biggest ever amphetamines bust.
Jimmy, can I ask you how you feel?
He's not making any statements.
Broke and
Are you
living in
relieved?
obscurity, Krakouer turned to crime to pay off debts. He was caught red-handed with 5 kilograms of speed after an accomplice tipped off police. Amphetamines. You've never taken them yourself. Do you know what they do to people?
Yeah, they ruin people's lives.
Did you think about that at the time?
Not at the time, no.
Do you think about it now?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you understand why people would hate you for being a drug trafficker?
Yeah, I understand it.
What a kick by Jimmy. What a kick. Jimmy Krakouer. There's Jimmy Krakouer going out there. Watch him go. Around that man, you know, he's going to run for the goals.
The Jim Krakouer story is one of amazing highs and lows. And while there's been plenty of off-field tragedy and drama, on the ground, Jim was simply sublime. I'll never forget the first time I saw Jim and his brother Phil play here at the old Arden Street Oval. It was just their second game in the big time, but I, like everybody here that day, was simply awestruck the first time Jim touched the ball. Dare I say it, Jim Krakouer had exploded onto the scene, and football would never be the same again.
Back in the play, going down towards the forward pocket, going after it now is Phil Krakouer, hand pass back to his brother Jimmy. This looks dangerous. It could be a goal. It is a goal.
They called it Krakouer magic.
Jimmy Krakouer took it beautifully over to Phil Krakouer into the open goal goes.
It was like a sixth sense.
Kept over by Jim Krakouer, and now Phil Krakouer's got two.
When these boys played, they played as one.
Jimmy Krakouer, well caught by Richardson, flings the ball out to Phil Krakouer.
What was it about the Crackers that excited you so much?
Definitely a sort of absolute art, wizardry in their football skills.
And there's Krakouer coming out the puck, a snap at goal.
Jim was in and under and he really got the ball out.
He was hard, he was a tough player.
Tough player. Great player.
Former North Melbourne boss Ron Joseph discovered the Crackers at Perth club Claremont. Rod lured the boys east with a giant contract and for the next 10 years was their minder and mentor. Is the Jim Krakouer story a tragedy?
Oh, it's very sad. Very sad story. You know, a champion footballer that had everything in the 80s and to see, you know, spend the time that he's now spent in jail. It's great that he's now out, but very sad.
With Jim Krakouer, it was always magic and mayhem. That's what made him so exciting to watch.
Yes,
There had been great Aboriginal players before him, but Jim was different. He had a menace, an anger.
Oh, Meldrum Biff Cracker, and again he's gone down!
For years he'd been taunted for being black, and he wasn't going to take it anymore.
And they're nearly a free kick. They were all at Jimmy going after the bloke that went after Phil.
After putting up with it all through your junior days as a kid, I just thought, as an adult, I'm not going to put up with it no more.
How bad was it? What did they say to you?
Oh, you know, just call you Black C and all this sort of stuff, and I just didn't like it.
You probably used to swing off that as a kid, did you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Jim Krakouer's tumultuous life began in the small rural town of Mount Barker in Western Australia. It was here in a tin shed with no power or running water that Jimmy was raised with his 10 brothers and sisters.
Well, the old house was about here, in this little corner here, and then we had sheep cattle yards over this way.
Yeah.
The old railway, the old train used to run up and down the railway line there.
Yeah?
That was a wake-up call. He'd never miss a beat. He'd go past, go past early hours in the morning. And
Jim's father Eric was a shearer who earned a meagre living working for the district's wealthy graziers. His mum Phoebe spent her days struggling to simply feed the cracker mob. It used to go when the larder was a bit bare, catch a few roos around the place.
yeah, used to go out a fair bit and enjoyed going out too, because it was good exercise too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Mum, she used to cook them in the ashes, the damper, and Daddy'd cut the kangaroos meat up, cut them in pieces and mince them up with an axe and put onions in there and, yeah, mince it up pretty good.
Good tucker?
Beautiful tucker.
Life was simple then, wasn't it?
It was pretty simple, yeah.
To see Mount Barker today, it's hard to imagine a childhood here being anything but idyllic, regardless of the circumstances. But in the 60s and the 70s, this was a far different place. It was a town divided by racism, and for a young firebrand like Jimmy Krakouer, that could only mean one thing: trouble. Was this one of the pubs you couldn't get into when you were young?
Yeah, around the side there, they
Yeah.
you couldn't go into the main bars and that.
Yeah.
You had to get a drink from the side, and if they wanted to open it, they would.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I think, became somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy, in the sense that perhaps he felt he was bad, therefore he did bad things, which is not to say that he went out necessarily looking for trouble. In many instances, trouble would follow him.
Perth academic Sean Gorman has spent the past 4 years researching Jim Krakouer's life, and he believes racism played a major role in shaping his character and his future.
What many people have to try and understand is that racism simply isn't a case of calling someone a coon or a nigger. It is a whole range of other things. You've got to understand that back in the 50s and the 60s, when Jimmy and Phil were born, they weren't even considered citizens of this country.
As Jim Krakouer grew, so too did his anger and resentment. By the time he was a teenager, he was constantly in strife. At 16, Krakouer was jailed for raping a young Aboriginal girl, but to this day he maintains it was consensual sex. Is that a hard thing to live with, the fact that you're a convicted rapist?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty hard to live with.
A year later, Jim Krakouer was in more trouble. It was 1976, and Jim was speeding along the highway outside Mount Barker when he swerved into a road gang, killing a council worker. He was charged with reckless driving and again ended up in jail. Do you think about it a lot?
Yeah.
What's the thought that keeps coming to your mind?
Yeah, well, I've, taken someone's husband and father, so...
So you've carried all that with you to this very day?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about it because, yeah, it's not, I think about it all the time and, yeah, it's no good.
But throughout his troubled teenage years, Jim Krakouer had an escape: football.
Half forward, top of the pack, Jimmy Krakouer.
Jimmy Krakouer, I'll have it, he says.
And eventually it took him from Mount Barker to Perth and on to Melbourne.
Hand pass out to Cracker. That's
By the
Jimmy
age of 24, he was playing at the MCG.
Hand pass in, Jimmy Krakouer.
It all happened so fast, Jim's feet hardly touched the ground.
He's got it, Jimmy. Oh, he's running off. He should kick it.
The crowd just roars and roars as one, and that's the best feeling for sure. Makes you a very proud man.
It's a hand pass to Jimmy Krakouer. He's got a chance to kick a goal. He's going to do just that.
But even as he soared, Jim was heading for a fall.
Could be a marker who's going to play to Jimmy Krakouer.
There was another sex charge involving an underage girl, and Jim had developed an addiction to gambling, an addiction that would eventually cost him everything he owned. Where did the money go?
I'm not too sure. I must have spent it. It seemed like window shopping because, we had a good contract and all the money was there, but when it's gone and it all dries up, well, I guess I got maybe a bit desperate for money, and that's what led me to this crime.
In 1996, Jim Krakouer was jailed for his crime, and he spent the next 8 years in some of Western Australia's toughest prisons. But for Jim, the hardest thing was knowing his 4 children were growing up without him. Now they're adults, with children of their own.
Sometimes, you get a bit upset because when I first got in trouble, they were young and I missed all the grown-up years, so, yeah.
You think you owe them a bit?
Yeah, I think I do.
Andrew Krakouer was 11 when his dad went to prison. Now he's a football star himself.
Going is Krakouer. This is one-on-one. He might go all the way for a goal. Oh, sensational kick.
Have you watched him on the television?
All the time.
Yeah. What's it like?
Yeah, so it makes you feel proud. So.
Do you get a bit of a tingle up your back when the commentators are yelling out Krakouer again and Krakouer magic?
Yeah, I do. I just feel happy for Andrew.
Did you play football?
Yeah, a long time ago, Uncle.
Jim Krakouer is not what you'd call the perfect role model. Yet in his spectacular rise and fall, there's a cautionary lesson for young Aboriginal kids like these. The question is, after all he's been through, has Jim Krakouer finally learnt that lesson too?
Everyone makes mistakes. Yeah, some big, some small. I made a big one, and I paid my penalty, and it was a big penalty. And Australia's meant to be the have it a fair go. Well, I think everyone deserves another chance.
This is your last chance. If you muck up, to use your words this time, they'll throw away the key and no one will want to help you.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, the ball's in my court. I've just got to make every post a winner.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes, segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.